When someone repeatedly tells you they'd leave you for someone else, it makes you grateful they stay. It makes you try harder to be good enough. It keeps you off balance and afraid to stand up for yourself because what if they actually leave? That's emotional manipulation even if the person doing it doesn't realize that's what they're doing. Keith's behavior wasn't about Natalie at all. It was about controlling me by making me feel like I wasn't enough. Understanding that made something click into place in my brain. My sister convinced me to take a weekend trip to the beach with her 2 weeks after the divorce was final. I hadn't taken a real vacation in 2 years because Keith always said we couldn't afford it. We needed to save money for a house eventually. We had to be responsible. But now I was looking at my bank account and realizing I actually had more money than I did when I was married. I wasn't paying for Keith's stuff anymore. I wasn't covering his share when he came up short. The irony wasn't lost on me that being single gave me more freedom and more money than being married ever did. My sister and I drove to the coast and spent 3 days walking on the beach and eating seafood and not talking about Keith at all. It felt like the first real break I'd had in years. A few days after I got back from the beach, I ran into one of Keith's friends at the grocery store. He was standing by the produce section and looked uncomfortable when he saw me. He walked over and said he wanted to apologize for not speaking up about Keith's comments when we were all together. His girlfriend had pointed out how wrong they were, but he hadn't wanted to cause problems at the time. Now he felt bad about staying quiet when he should have said something to Keith privately. I told him I appreciated him saying that and it wasn't his responsibility to fix Keith's behavior, but it meant something that he recognized it was wrong. He nodded and said his girlfriend was right about a lot of things, and he was trying to be better about calling out his friends when they crossed lines. The next week, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Keith asking if we could talk about getting back together because he'd been doing therapy and working on himself. He said he understood now what he did wrong and wanted a chance to show me he'd changed. I stared at the message for about 10 seconds, then blocked the number without responding. His growth wasn't my responsibility anymore, and I didn't owe him a conversation about it. Whatever work he was doing in therapy was for him, not for us, because there was no us anymore. I started redecorating the apartment the following weekend, to make it feel like mine instead of ours. Natalie came over with paint samples and we picked out a soft gray-blue color for the bedroom that Keith had always said was too bold. We spent Saturday afternoon painting while music played from my phone and laughing about how such a small change made the whole space feel different. She stood back and looked at the finished wall and said it was perfect, and she couldn't believe Keith had stopped me from doing this years ago. I told her it felt good to make choices without someone shooting them down or making me feel stupid for having preferences. During my next session, Amanda and I worked on recognizing red flags I'd missed early in my relationship with Keith. She had me write down times he made jokes at my expense, then called me sensitive when I objected. The list got long fast and included comments about my cooking, my work, my family, and how I looked in certain outfits. Amanda explained that jokes at someone else's expense aren't actually jokes, and they're designed to make the other person feel small, while the joke teller gets to hide behind humor. I was learning that someone who really cared about me wouldn't want to make me feel bad even as a joke. 3 months after the divorce, I realized I felt genuinely happy instead of just